Every concept has to follow, starting from kaparas, mikveh, shachris, lekach, and then you have to eat, of course, go to mikveh again, and so there's malchus, mikveh, so there's nefsekas, etc. And then towards the afternoon, right before Yom Kippur, there's mikveh sabanim, there's kittel, talis, and then there are some candles that we have to light. To the extent there's a whole simon of Shulchan Aruch Tafrishul that speaks about halachas of the candles that a person or a woman has to light on Erev Yom Kippur. Now, even before that, on Shabbos Shuvah, there's a minhag b'sarav was to light candle with a bunch of wicks, one for each family member. And there's also the Rebbe speaks in the Sikha, the minhag Chabad is to light 3 candles on Shabbos Shuvah, etc. When it comes to Erev Yom Kippur, besides for of course the candles that a wife, the woman, has to light, like every Erev Shabbos and Erev Yom Tiv, and there's actually a special halacha that every Yom Kippur, every Shabbos you have a meal, every Yom Tiv you have a meal, so every Yom Kippur she has to make sure that she has enough from the candles after the say. So either she stays home or she lights a candle that's going to be lit by the time she comes back from shul. But also a man, also not only the woman, a man also has to light a few candles, as we'll see. So Alter brings, and we know what the minhag is, Alter brings a Seif Dalet in Tafrei Shul, that it's a minhag that every married man has to light a ner. We call ner chaim. And where do we light this candle? So Alter Rebbe writes, we light it in shul. It's the minhag today that every married person, every married man has to light one candle for his family. And where do you do it in the shul? We know the minhag, they give it to the gabbai, because Alter Rebbe says that it's a whole story if you blow out. So that's the minhag today that we give it to the gabbai. Everybody should try to get the same candle as everyone else, so you don't know which one is yours, and then you're good to go. And then there's another candle, Seif Hay, that Alter Rebbe brings. It's Ner Neshama. If a person has a father or mother or both that are deceased, you have to light a candle for them. First we discuss if you need to light 2 for them, or just 1 is enough. But that's what Alter Rebbe brings. Some are medayik in the lashon of I think the Ramah that Alter Rebbe brings that 1 is enough because it says Gamma Avulas is Ner Neshama le'aviv u'le'imah. The person can discuss this question if you need to light 1 or 2. So Ner Chaim, everybody knows we light in the shul. What about Ner Neshama? So the minhag today is that we light at home. Makes sense, of course. Ner Chaim there's a reason to light it in the shul, but Ner Neshama, like any other candle, where would you light it? You light it at home. Now, the minhag today is as this, and this is brought actually. Shavach HaMayadim, he writes from the Shem Marlo Olam Shalem. That's the minhag that we light the Ner Neshama. A person should light at home, and then he adds over there in the footnotes that he quotes the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch that he says that it's a custom to light on Erev Yom Kippur 2 candles. You light 1 in the shul, and then 1 you light at home, so you can use that candle for Havdalah. Basically, many people do that today. They take the candle either in the Sham or wherever you want, to take the candle and you use that candle for Havdalah when it comes to Motzei Yom Kippur, as we'll see soon. Now, what's the problem with that? The problem is that not necessarily that's a shift of Alter Rebbe when it comes to what the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch is saying. So let's take a look at Tafrei Shkov Dalet, where the Alter Rebbe speaks about the halachas of Motzei Yom Kippur. So there the Alter Rebbe brings that in the candle of Havdalah, we know that every Motzei Shabbos we have to do the samim and ner. The samim because it's a neshama yisera, it's not shaykh in Yom Tov, so we don't do it on Motzei Yom Tov. We also don't do it on Motzei Kippur. There's a whole sikh on the Rebbe about that. When it comes to the candle, also we don't use a candle on Motzei Yom Tov. We only use it on Motzei Shabbos because of Adam Arisha, he stroked 2 stones and he created a fire, so we make a bracha on the candle. When it comes to Yom Kippur, there's something special that we don't have in every Yom Tov. When Yom Kippur is, we know that all the Shabbos and everything that applies on Shabbos, all these Surim of Shabbos apply on Yom Tov, on Yom Kippur. So because we were not able to use the candle on Yom Kippur, so we have to take a candle at Motzei Yom Kippur and to make a bracha to show that now you're allowed to use a candle, now you're allowed to use a fire. The whole day of Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to use a fire. That's not something that happens every Yom Tov. But Motzei Yom Kippur, we make a bracha on it. And Alter Rebbe actually brings 2 conditions, lechatchila, which candle you should use for Motzei Yom Kippur. Besides for, of course, that has to be a Nesha Shabbos. Because of that, Alter Rebbe explains. Because we're making a bracha on a candle, we're showing that now we have the possibility of using a light. It should be a Nesha Shabbos. It's brought down in Shulchan Aruch that it has to be a ner that was lit either Erev Yom Kippur, if a guy lit for a chayla, whatever, in many cases. It has to be a candle that was lit during Yom Kippur, and now you're making a bracha, that light that I couldn't get enough from, now I can get enough from, and we make a bracha. Now the Torah brings 2 conditions of for you to use a candle. The Torah says, number 1, it should be a candle that is used lehayer. You're using that to light a room or to use it could have enough from it, and it's a candle that you light for the purpose of lighting your upper room. And there's a lot, if you want to use a candle with these gases, you have to do another one, what the Rebbe explains. And in number 2, a second condition that the Rebbe says is that it says over here, it's in Seif Ches, I'm going to read it inside. Afal pishim min adimut levarach b'not Yom Kippur aloeh shud lo k'mineret sheshavas dehainu shud lo k'mineret Yom Kippur k'mo shenisparer v'kol mokim teg lehachminu levarach aloeh sheshavas b'milyoim mamash. So he brings it from the Ramah, takes from the Zerua, that there's an Indian of using the same candle itself, not to light a candle from it, but to take the candle that you lit there of Yom Kippur and make the bracha on that candle itself. So what do we see from here? That according to the Rebbe, a person should try to make a bracha on Motzi Yom Kippur on a candle that number 1 is made lehoyer, and number 2, the candle itself, you're not lighting a candle from that. So we see that what the Shavach HaMayadim brings from the Kiddush Aruch, it's not with the shit of the Rebbe what you should do, make a chumrah, you should make a candle, because he's saying you can take the candle that you lit the previous day, and he actually says, Shavach HaMayadim, that Motzi Yom Kippur, you take that Ner Neshama that you lit at home, and you light another candle from it. Why? Because that Ner Neshama is not made lehoyer, so by adding another candle from it, you're going to make the bracha on it, and then your problem is not there anymore. But now we see that it's not going to this first condition that the Rebbe mentions, which is to use the candle itself and not to use another candle. So that's what we see. And it's actually the Mishnah Berurah brings, the Kiddush Aruch, he brings from Derech Chaim, that in a person should light a candle on Erev Yom Kippur. A person should light a special candle for Havdalah. Erev Yom Kippur comes, a married person should light a Ner Chaim. If you have to, you light a Ner Neshama at home, and then you should light an extra candle just for Havdalah. You light a candle, it's for lehoyer, and then you're going to have that candle, and you make a bracha on that candle itself. You don't have to do any business of adding another candle from that. So that's what Mishnah Berurah says. That's the best way of doing it, because you're going according to all the opinions. So you look in Shavach HaMayadim, that's where it's brought down. And in most of the halachic books and articles and halachic guides, Chabad halachic guides, they quote the Shavach HaMayadim both in the halachas of Erev Yom Kippur and both in the halachas of Motzi Yom Kippur, saying that you could light an Ner Neshama at home and you can use it for Havdalah. And when it comes to Yom Kippur, also in shul, you can take a candle, you light another candle, and you make the Havdalah. But we see that that's not the best way to, according to the Alter Rebbe. Also in the English Shulchan Aruch that just came out, from Sichos in English, in the footnote they also write that you can light a candle from the Ner Neshama, but that's not necessarily what comes out from the Alter Rebbe. It sounds like the Alter Rebbe is also saying what the Mishnah Berurah is saying, that lechatchila you should light a candle just for the purpose of lighting and use that for Havdalah. Now, in the halachic guide that Kerheinz puts out, so over there on Erev Yom Kippur they write that you should light an extra specific candle for Havdalah. They write you should light a Ner Chaim and Neshama, and also light a second candle for Havdalah. But in the halachas of Motzi Yom Kippur he writes that the minhag is to add another candle from it. I'm not sure if he's quoting that from the Seif Vav, but the Rebbe says that the minhag today, the Rebbe says, "Lochin hagin lan nidek Havdalah me'ashashir shebes hakneses shedokum Erev Yom Kippur." But based on what the Rebbe writes in Seif Ches, the best way would be to only light one candle, as they write on Erev Yom Kippur, and just use that candle Motzi Yom Kippur. So that's what it is. Now I try also to find what the minhag of the Rebbe was. So Baruch Hashem, today we have the Rebbe Drive, we have all these videos they can find. So I was able, first of all, we know that the Rebbe didn't make Havdalah himself. He didn't make Havdalah in 770 downstairs in Shul in front of everyone. He actually made it in this room after Yom Kippur. But I saw some videos that in 770 the minhag was, I see from the videos that they're holding only one candle. It's an Havdalah candle. So they just probably lit that candle from another candle. I don't think they had that Havdalah candle the whole Yom Kippur, otherwise it wouldn't be that big. So that's what the minhag of 770 was. We saw some videos of Mentes, Nun, and Aleph, and Beis, whatever. And then also in the Sefer, the Ma'aseh Aleph, it's brought down that the Rebbe, Erev Yom Kippur, he used to instruct Shamish to light 13 candles in the Zalakatan or in the Cheder Sheni, 13 candles. Some say that's the name of Neshama, for 13 Neshamas, whatever it was. And he would also light a candle in his room. That's where the Rebbe made Havdalah. Some people say it's Ner Chaim. And then the Rebbe also used to instruct someone to light a candle in his own. I'm not sure which kavanah the Rebbe had. I don't know if the Rebbe had a second candle or how the Rebbe did, but that's the way it was done. So that was the minhag, at least in the 770. They lit that Havdalah candle from another candle, apparently. So what about Avuka? We know that Motzei Shabbos we have to use 2 wicks at least. You have to have a torch candles. So what's the din with Matzah Yom Kippur? Does it apply also for Matzah Yom Kippur or not? Based on what we said, that you have to light an extra candle on every Yom Kippur for the purpose of a dollar. Should you light a candle that has 2 wicks, and then you don't have to have the concern of Vukah on Matzah Yom Kippur or not? So the Piskei Teshuvos brings a footnote that based on the Mishnah Berurah that we mentioned, that apparently it's not required on Matzah Yom Kippur to light Vukah, because it says it's only a mitzvah min hamuvchar. We know from the Gemara in Pesachim it says that a Vukah on Motzei Shabbos is the mitzvah min hamuvchar. So when the Mishnah Berurah says that you can light 1 candle, that's enough. You don't have to worry about 2 wicks. And on Matzah Yom Kippur, apparently even when it falls on Motzei Shabbos, but we forgot also to mention that the idea of using an extra candle on Matzah Yom Kippur, the Alter brings even when Matzah Yom Kippur falls on Motzei Shabbos. To show that the Yom Kippur is more special, so even when Yom Kippur falls on Shabbos, you should also have an extra candle. But that's what the Piskei Teshuvos writes, that you don't have to worry about the 2 wicks. Now, from the Alter Rebbe and the Reish Tzaddik Ches is mashma that you should, because the Alter Rebbe writes the reason why we use 2 wicks. And the Alter Rebbe writes because that's the nusach of the bracha, Borei Meir Ha'esh. So because the nusach of the bracha is Borei Meir Ha'esh in plural, so that's why we use 2 wicks on Motzei Shabbos. So apparently the same rule would apply also for Motzei Yom Kippur. You're also making the bracha. You shouldn't change the bracha. So you should try to have at least 2 wicks. You should try to have a Vukah. Even though when Yom Kippur, when Yom Tov falls on Motzei Shabbos, we don't put the wicks together. We look at the candles. That's another union. But I'm saying, based on what Alter Rebbe writes, that the reason. Actually, I was looking. The Chikei Halach is the Karska Alav Shalom. He writes a whole thing why the Alter Rebbe is the only one who brings this tam that we make the bracha that we have to use to a vukah because of the bracha of Borei Meir Ha'esh. I remember seeing somewhere a long time ago, and I couldn't find it this week, but that there's another reason why we use 2 wicks on Motzei Shabbos is because the Mauritian struck 2 stones, so we also try to use 2 wicks. So that wouldn't apply for a Motzei Yom Kippur because that's not the purpose that we're lighting the candle. But based on what Alter Rebbe writes, that the idea is because of the nusach, so it would seem that a person should try to fulfill this mitzvah min hamuvchar even on Motzei Yom Kippur because of the 2 wicks that it should be on a vukah. The Chikei Halach bring a whole thing from the tzlach that it's actually the opposite. He writes that everybody writes that there's an halacha that says that Motzei Shabbos you don't have to go after a candle. But when it comes to Motzei Yom Kippur, you should go after a candle. Why? Because in Avdalah Motzei Yom Kippur, like we said, the whole meaning of the candle is that you're showing that the candle was not, you weren't able to use the anah. So that's why you have to go after a candle. But the Shabbos, if you don't have a candle, you just make Avdalah, and then later on, if you find a candle, you make Borei Meir Ha'esh. But on Motzei Yom Kippur, a person should go after, and it's actually harder. You have to find a candle that was Nesha Shabbos. So the Tzlach brings and Maseches Brachos, I think, based on when he says it, the Rava says in Maseches Pesachim that it's a mitzvah min hamuvchar to use an avukah. He thinks that it's actually for Yom Kippur, that whole quote of the Gemara that you have to use an avukah. It's specifically talking about Yom Kippur, Motzei Yom Kippur, not necessarily Motzei Shabbos. Different from what the Piskei Teshuvos wrote, that the mitzvah min hamuvchar is dafka Shabbos, but not Yom Kippur. So the Sikkum Advarim. Based on what the Alter Rebbe writes, a person should try to light, besides for the Ner Chaim and the Ner Neshama, you should light the Ner Neshama at home. Those who light, because of Rabbi Marlowe wrote, then also makes sense to light at home, but also try to light an extra candle on every Yom Kippur, so you should use also for Avdalah of Motzei Yom Kippur. And if possible, that candle should be of 2 wicks. And the Piskei Teshuvos is right. If a person wants to add another candle, let's say you lit the candle every Kippur that only has 1 wick. If you want to add another candle, you're not losing anything. You could do it. You're not losing the fact of the whole purpose of the candle that we spoke that Alter Rebbe brings. Asknezis, if you light another candle, you're not losing the idea of lehayer or Nesha Shabbos mamash because you're just adding another candle, so you're not losing anything. So he says you can do it if you want. But the best way would do just buy a 24, 26 hours, 27 hour candle that has 2 wicks, and then you can use that for Avdalah Lechatchila, according to all opinions. Now, mainly Inyan, just to discuss another few halachas connected to candle and sukkahs or Yom Tov. So we'll discuss 2 halachas. One which is actually connected to what we just discussed. So let's say the minhag ha'olam is to light a candle for Yizkar. So when you have Yizkar, next week, Shmini Atzeres, so many people have a custom of lighting the candle of Yizkor. So the place can discuss if you're allowed to light it on Yom Tov. We're not even talking about a Chana from the first day or second day, let's say when Yizkor falls on the second day, that has a whole sugya for itself. If you're allowed to light a Yom Tov candle, let's say the second night of Yom Tov, if you're allowed to light before Seis. We're talking about just lighting a candle for Yizkor. Let's say Shmini Atzeres morning, somebody will want to light a candle for Yizkor. So it's brought down in Poskim that you shouldn't do it. Why? Because candle, a lot of people think that Yom Tov you can do everything that involves cooking, you can cook whatever, no, it's not, you can carry anything. No, you can only light a fire on Yom Tov if it's l'tzorech bishul for Yom Tov or if it's l'tzorech mitzvah. So we can discuss if a candle is, if a Yizkor candle, somebody has a Yizkor and he wants to light a Yizkor candle, if that is a mitzvah or not. So most places can write you shouldn't, and there's ways of doing it. If you didn't and you want to light, you can ask a guy, you can light in shul when you're using the light, or it's a mitzvah. It's actually, the Alter brings in Reish Samech Aleph, I think, that Ben Hashmosh is of Erev Shabbos, if a person forgot to do Erev Tashulin, to do Erev or whatever. And one of the things Alter mentions is that you can also ask a guy to light a candle for Nafi Yizkor for a yard site. Yizkor is not so negative for us because our minhag is not to light a candle for Yizkor, besides for Yom Kippur, which is not necessarily for Yizkor, it's more for Kapara. But today our minhag is not to light a candle for Yizkor, but it's negative for someone who has a yard site and Yom Tov. So the Torah brings over there in Reish Samech Aleph that for yard site, you can actually ask a guy, Ben Hashmosh on Shabbos to light a candle on yard site because that's something that people care much about. So for Yom Tov, the poskim say that you shouldn't light